Hello and welcome to my easy to understand guide to Fortnite, which is a set video game text for GCSE, Component 1, Section B. You will only ever get asked about this in relation to industries and audiences, which means you're going to need a lot of factual information. The first thing you're going to need to know is that Fortnite is really quite a hybrid game. It's a mixture of different genres. You do have the battle element, so there's kind of that fighting element, which is a core part of the game. But there's also things like searching and building and puzzle solving, and so it's got elements from lots of different genres, and perhaps that's one of the reasons why it's so popular, is because it does attract audiences that are fans of different genres of games and not just those kind of fighting games. It is a free-to-play game, which means you can just download it for free and play it for free. You don't need to spend any money, although obviously people do, which we'll come on to later. But that's, again, another reason why it's so popular with audiences, particularly younger audiences. So if you don't know, the premise of Fortnite is that when you log in, you get assigned a character, you get dropped onto this island, and part of your goal is to be the last one to survive on this island. In general, what tends to happen is that you're encouraged to work with other people, other characters in the first part of the game, perhaps to build or to find ways to survive together. So there's an element of teamwork, and that could be with your friends if you're playing with your friends, or with strangers. So it adds that element of interactivity and social interaction, which a lot of audiences really like, and the collaboration as well. But then later on, as the game goes on and as the storm approaches this island, you're encouraged to start killing people off so that eventually you are the last one standing. People do quite like competitive games like this, and people like to kind of judge their own scores against other people's and how well they've done. And there's obviously rankings online as well of the best players. And so that competitive element does, I think, appeal to a lot of audiences. When the game was originally released by Epic Games, people did have to pay for a battle pass in order to take part in the battles, but Epic Games decided to make it free to compete, and since then the game just exploded and became hugely popular, and they're now raking in around $1 billion a year from this, so it is a very financially successful game. There are other parts to this kind of franchise. So Fortnite Battle Royale is the main game that is very, very popular, but they have kind of turned this into a franchise. There are other types of Fortnite game available, and so being part of a franchise is a good way to expand and to make more money, and to really ensure that you're making the most profit off of an obviously successful idea. People often make assumptions about who video gamers actually are and who in general is playing games like Fortnite. And often the assumption is that they are going to be young, geeky men, basically, or teenage boys, essentially. But actually, research has shown that at the moment, across video games as a whole, actually it's around about a 60-30 split. So around 30 and all the way up to around 40 to 45% of players are female now. And so there's an increasing number of women who are gaming across the whole variety and whole spectrum of games. And actually Fortnite itself has quite a high number of female players. So it's worth trying to explore why that might be. One of the reasons is that a lot of other video games are very heavily gendered. You know, perhaps other video games often have only male playable characters, or the female characters are often highly sexualized and treated in quite a misogynistic manner. In Fortnite, when you log in and when you start, you get randomly assigned a character by the game. So you don't get to choose whether you are male or female. In fact, you don't even get to choose what species you are. You might end up being an alien or a monster or whatever it might be. So because of that, often people aren't aware of who the players behind the characters are, and that might encourage more female players to take part who might have been put off by other kind of more sexist or misogynistic games. So actually Fortnite has quite a diverse player base because of this. The game is available on a range of platforms. So most people are playing it a lot on consoles and computers, but it's also available on tablets and on mobile phones. It's available across platforms, and actually they've got this ability to let you as a player switch between platforms in the middle of a game. So you could be playing on your computer and decide, actually I'm going out but I want to carry on playing, and you can switch to your mobile phone in the middle of a battle, which is quite unusual, and it's quite different, and it just shows how important technology has become in audiences' lives, that game makers have had to introduce this as a capability. But it means the game is very widely accessible. You don't have to have the latest games console in order to play it, and that is quite appealing for a lot of people. The makers of the game, Epic Games, use social media, so things like YouTube and Twitch, as well as Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, etc., in order to promote their games. So they will post things like teaser trailers, walkthroughs, all over YouTube, and that is a very popular way of a lot of people who enjoy games to access the game, to find out more about it. It's a great way of promoting your game. And of course, all of these platforms and all of these sites have that shareability. So it means that if you do watch a trailer and you like it, you can share it with your friends. And so it increases promotion by encouraging audiences to share their products as well. And actually, Twitch has become a really big deal for a lot of video games, and that's exactly the same with this. So they have been using Twitch to do live competitions and things, which very much appeals to those people who consider themselves like e-gamers, which has become something that is really rising in popularity. The game makers are finding ways to make more money all the time. So they've done a lot of tie-ins with companies, these synergetic partnerships. So for example, they worked with Marvel when they made Avengers Infinity War, and they did kind of like a brand tie-in whereby you could play the game using special Avengers themed costumes and take part in special Avengers themed events. The same with the film Godzilla when that was released as well. So these kind of synergetic brand partnerships with other companies are a great way both companies benefit from them, because it promotes the film and it promotes the game, but it also potentially increases your profits and also maybe widens your target audience. Perhaps those fans of those films will now start playing Fortnite even if they didn't before. Epic Games is a very large company. It wasn't always a huge company. It started off with just one guy working in his parents' garage. So they kind of came from quite humble beginnings, and they've kind of worked their way up and developed their products until they've become very rich and successful. And perhaps that's one of the reasons why their software that they've been able to develop in-house is available free for audiences to use on their website. And that's normally something, software is something that normally companies keep to themselves. They see it as something important that needs to be kind of kept secret, if you like. But making this software available to their audiences kind of just shows maybe that they want to encourage their audiences to be more active, that they see their audiences as producers, they see them as important, because they perhaps see the potential of, if their audiences were able to use this software, maybe they too could become famous and successful just like they did. Now the company is very, very financially successful. They are horizontally and vertically integrated. So they own a range of other video game companies, and they also have their own software companies as well. They do their own in-house promotion. So they are able to do a lot of the production processes themselves, and that makes them quite a powerful company. Obviously, a big part of the video game industry is to try and make as much money as possible. And if the game is free to play, you have to consider how Epic Games are making more money apart from those brand partnerships. And microtransactions is a big part of this kind of online gaming now. So you can use real world money to purchase the Fortnite currency, which is V-Bucks. And V-Bucks allow you to purchase things like costumes and skins within the game, battle passes, and most of these things like the costumes and the skins, they don't have any effect on your gameplay. So they don't actually help you to do any better, which is quite unusual for video games. But they're all just kind of creative, aesthetic things, and players really like them, and they do spend a lot of money on them. So this is a good way of increasing profit for the company overall. A lot of the items that do get released, Epic Games label them as being exclusive or limited edition, which makes it feel like if you don't buy it right now, you're going to miss out. And so a lot of players will purchase things just because they think, oh, it's going to disappear soon, or I won't be able to get hold of it. So that idea of calling something limited edition is a good way of trying to basically convince your audience to spend money now rather than later. It's important to understand how the video game industry is regulated. The regulatory body for video games in the UK is called the VSC, the Video Standards Council, but they use the PEGI rating system, which is the Pan-European Gaming Information Rating System. And so together, that company and the gaming regulations they're using gave Fortnite a 12 UK certificate. And it's important to understand why it got a 12 and why it didn't get something higher or lower. So the reason it didn't get anything lower than a 12 was because obviously the point of the game is to battle, to fight, and eventually to kill. So they're not really going to give a lower certificate for a game like that. But the reason it didn't get anything higher is because obviously the violence is kind of animated, cartoon-like. It's not particularly realistic. You're not looking at like high graphic gore like you might get in some other video games at the moment. There's not, scenes of sex or drug taking or anything like that. And so that's why it didn't get a higher certificate. Actually, a lot of parents of people who play this game aren't actually that concerned about the level of violence in the game. Parents seem to be more concerned about the addictive nature of the game. Players just wanting to play it all the time. And so perhaps, it's worth considering the fact that actually a lot of people now are more worried about addiction to video games rather than the actual content of video games itself. The fact that this game is available on consoles, online, on mobile phones, obviously also makes it harder for parents to control what their kids are playing. Think about the number of children that are probably playing this that are under the age of 12, but their parents don't know about it because their parents don't have a clue what they do online. So online technology has perhaps made this kind of control of video games a little bit harder. The cartoon graphics in the game and the bright colours obviously appeal to younger audiences as well. They also use famous celebrities to appeal to audiences and to engage new audiences too. So there are lots of non-gaming celebrities, rappers, basketball players who have huge followers online, but who have played Fortnite online and shared it with their followers, and then that has promoted the game. So the makers, Epic Games, actually work quite closely with a lot of celebrities to maybe kind of encourage them to post about the game because it's all good publicity. But there are also a lot of actual gaming-based celebrities. So people who consider themselves to be like professional gamers, people like Ninja, who are making millions and millions of dollars every year from this. And they have huge numbers of followers. And every time they post about games like Fortnite, it acts as a massive amount of publicity for the game. So Epic Games also have to make sure that they're developing really close relationships with these very famous gamers to ensure that they get the gamers on side, so the gamers will actually post about their game, and then that will in turn promote the game Fortnite. Epic Games also created a World Cup, a Fortnite World Cup, so a huge competition that took place in America. People flew there from all over the world. The average age of the contestants was 12, which seems insane to me, and the prize money was something like $30 million, which is nuts. But obviously a huge incentive for people to play the game, and in particular young people who have these aspirations to become famous online. And so these kind of very big competitions with huge prizes is a great way of promoting the game. Another way they promote the game is by promoting it in the same way that a TV programme might be promoted. So they talk about seasons, much like you'd have seasons of a TV show. And that's quite rare with a video game, and not a lot of video games have ever done that. So with Fortnite, they have like a season finale, so like the last episode or the last part of the season, and then there's like this kind of big event or a cliffhanger, and then people wonder what's going to happen in the next season of Fortnite. So that creates a lot of publicity for the game because people talk about it online and discuss what they think is going to happen. A great example of this is in the last couple of seasons, what happened was people were playing, they were in the middle of a battle on the island in the game, and in the middle of the battle, a huge kind of meteor or an asteroid came down from the sky, smashed into the island, destroyed everything, and everyone's screens that were in battle at the time was just left with a black hole on the screen. And at the same time, Epic Games went through all their social media feeds and deleted every tweet, every Facebook post, everything, and just replaced it with images of the black hole. And this was like, it created such a buzz and an enigma, lots of mystery. People were talking about it and discussing it on social media and sharing it. So it created a huge viral chat about the game, and that created a huge amount of publicity and encouraged lots of people to then tune in for the next season of the game. The makers of the game have also diversified outside of video games on its own. So they are using Fortnite and the universe created for Fortnite, but they have now gone into things like music and film. So there have been several incidents where people can log into Fortnite but watch a film inside Fortnite. So rather than going to the cinema, they could actually watch the film through the game. And there have also been music concerts like the Travis Scott concert in the last 12 months that was on Fortnite, so his fans could log into Fortnite and watch his exclusive concert through Fortnite. And this is a huge kind of diversification, which not a lot of video game companies have tried, but Epic Games have managed it really well. It's a great way of promoting your game because obviously those celebrities or those brands will start promoting it for you. Travis Scott fans will have, logged into Fortnite perhaps for the first time ever just to watch his concert. So it's a great way of attracting new audiences. And, especially during times like this, like during the coronavirus pandemic, people who couldn't go to the cinema or can't get out to concerts, it's a great way of attracting those gamers who are stuck at home. Diversifying into other areas like music and film is another great way of increasing your profit even further. So that was my easy to understand guide to Fortnite. I have lots of other videos for GCSE and A-level set texts on my channel, so please check them out.